Nelson Chamisa, as well as also Hopewell Chinono, found themselves at loggerheads regarding the post that Nelson Chamisa made about 5 hours ago, where he says now the cat is out of the bag. When Chabang happened, let me just go read it. When Chabang happened, and when I left the CCC snake pit, many were simply too slow to see its endgame, manipulating the constitution and using every available means to illegally extend illegitimate term in office. With what I have personally been through and what we are witnessing now, Mugabe almost looks like an amateur or a baby when it comes to dictatorship and tyranny. The scale of bribery, infiltration, and manipulation through money, trinkets, state capture, and the abuse of power is staggering. It is operated at a level never imagined or witnessed before. But then fighting evil is not easy and will not stop. The struggle continues. Hope is not lost. God will ultimately win and defeat all evil. The true colors are coming out, only that we know what most people don't. Now it's easy to start afresh because pretenders and infiltrators are now fully known, and more will come out. We are starting all over, a fresh start. And this quickly attracted the response of Hopewell Chinono, who opposed Nelson Chamisa. Greetings and welcome to your lovely channel, the Hlonipani Global News. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. So Hopewell Chinono quickly responded. This is how he responded. He says Nelson Chamisa founded CCC and made himself its president, but refused to establish a constitution, elected leadership, or accountable party structures. The only other publicly recognized national official, spokesperson Fadzai Mahere, whom he fired on the eve of the election, national organizer Amos Chibaya, and deputy spokesperson Gift Ostalos Sizima. Everything else revolved around him. He selected candidates, controlled decision making, and resisted every call to build strong democratic institutions around the movement. He supported. I'm trying to say he supported, defended those decisions. That is why this statement is so upsetting and intellectually dishonest. You cannot deliberately centralize an entire political movement around yourself, personally control who enters its inner circles, refuse institutional safeguards, and then speak as though infiltrators mysteriously arrived through a door controlled by someone else. If CCC became a snake pit, who built the pit? If infiltrators occupied the movement, through whose leadership did they enter and rise? Infiltration thrives where there are no rules, no transparent record, no elected structures, no collective decision making, and no mechanisms for accountability. That was CCC. These were not accidental weaknesses. They were the direct consequence of Chamisa's chosen leadership model. Many people warned that a movement built around one man instead of institutions was dangerously vulnerable. But they were insulted and dismissed as enemies, sellouts, or people who were too slow to see how strategic and ambiguity worked. Leadership is not merely about claiming foresight responsibility for the decisions that made the disaster possible. Chamisa cannot claim sole authority when things appear to be going well, then distribute blame among pretenders and infiltrators when everything collapses. Now Zimbabweans are being offered yet another fresh start, there has been no honest explanation of what went wrong, no apology to supporters, and no acceptance of responsibility. Starting again without confronting leadership failures that destroyed the previous movement is not renewal. It is simply repeating the same mistake under a new name. ZANU-PF's infiltration and abuse of state power must be condemned, but that cannot become an excuse for failed leadership. A serious leader protects a movement by building democratic institutions stronger than any individual. Until Chamisa accepts that elementary truth and accounts for his own decisions, talk of infiltrators is merely an attempt to escape responsibility for a crisis created under his absolute control. He might say that people like Hopewell, who criticized the entire arrangement from 2022, are the usual critics. But what about Dr. Alex Makaisa, who pleaded with him to establish a constitution and proper leadership structures precisely to prevent these problems? That tweet is still there for everyone to see. He was not listened to either. The first step towards any genuine renewal must be to accept responsibility and apologize. Only then can there be an honest conversation about starting afresh. Supporters who believe that renewal can happen without accountability will be complicit in what happened in the past and what will happen in the future. All these serious leadership mistakes created the conditions that allowed the movement to be hijacked. It is not as if nobody warned that this would happen. The warnings were made publicly and repeatedly, but they were ignored, while those who raised them were insulted, attacked, and labeled enemies. Zimbabweans have a dangerous habit of choosing comforting lies over uncomfortable truths. Until that changes, they will continue paying the terrible price of repression. A movement that refuses to learn from its mistake is not renewing itself. It is simply preparing to repeat them, referring to the mistakes. And Nelson Chamisa responded. He says, it's a short statement. He says, Dear Daddy Hope, a proper and balanced journalist is a truth teller who reports facts, not fiction. Be a journalist, not a propagandist who peddles lies and misinformation to serve the interest of the oppressors. I have tolerated your tomfoolery for far too long. Enough is enough. Nelson Chamisa is breathing fire. And then Hopewell responded about 9 minutes ago. He says, Dear Nelson Chamisa, thank you very much for your note. Identify the specific lies and misinformation you claim I have peddled. Point to the precise statement, explain what is false about it, and provide the correct facts. Simply accusing me of spreading lies without identifying a single lie is meaningless. You are a political actor and Zimbabwe's lead opposition politician. You say that you are fighting for democracy, yet an essential part of democracy is the right of journalists to scrutinize, question, and criticize political leaders, including opposition leaders. Criticism does not become propaganda merely because it makes you and your supporters uncomfortable. You say that you have tolerated me for too long. A politician does not tolerate a journalist. Journalists that do not require permission from politicians to do their work. The language of tolerance suggests that you believe journalists should operate with your approval and that criticism is acceptable only for as long as you permit it. That is not democracy, that is dictatorship. I am aware that you have a powerful cultic following whose members may accept every word you say without demanding evidence. But as a journalist, I will not be intimidated or cowed by that following. I would rather stand alone telling a comfortable truth than join a crowd united by comforting untruths. If any statement I have made is factually wrong, identify it and I will respond with the evidence supporting what I said. If you demonstrate that I made a genuine factual error, I will correct it because that if that is what responsible journalists do, if that, I mean, but if you cannot identify a single lie, then you should withdraw this blanket accusation and respond to the substance of my criticism. Journalism is not praise singing, and scrutiny is not hostility. Democracy requires leaders who can answer difficult questions without labeling every critic a propagandist. I await your specific examples and will respond to each one with evidence. And then Comrade Cheu Mapunu says, Mr. President, don't waste your time engaging Hopewell. He is on a mission, but such statements are reckless. What kind of a mission? It's also a stupid accusations. Then Nelson Chamisa says his mission failed long ago. What mission are they talking about? And then Elvis Ndlovu says, Kiki. If the truth is to be told, who has propaganda lied and misinformed Zimbabweans so much in contemporary politics? Nelson, learn to listen and not be immune to criticism. Nelson Chamisa says, I don't accept lies and disinformation disguised as criticism. Just support those you believe in. Solomon says, learn to take responsibility. To Nelson Chamisa, when things go wrong, you know what mistakes you made, but now you want to sound clever by telling people you foresaw the end game. Miswa. And then Nelson Chamisa says, I don't take responsibility for its transgressions and trespasses. Manu akabirwa natural offense. Munu akabatwa chiparo sei achifeka mini. Musadaro man. Don't always blame the victim, leaving out the perpetrator. No. And then Pambene Zanu said, Mr. Chamisa, you did a lot of mistakes. It's coming. Says, I'm fully human, and to err is human. If you are looking for someone who never makes mistakes, okay, so that is what is currently happening at the moment between Hopewell and Nelson Chamisa. It's exchanges. He has been asked to provide evidence of misinformation. I hope Mr. Nelson Chamisa will do so. As he does, we will definitely bring it to you. I think people should understand one thing. Journalists are not friends to any politicians. Journalists, they are the fourth estate. They stand for the society to report the truth. They actually convey the truth. They criticize all politicians without taking side. If Mnangagwa is a detector today, we have been criticizing him. But if an opposition leader tries to attempt that, I think you have seen me. I've stood up against Hakainde Ichilema, and also we are reading it out. When it comes to Nelson Chamisa, I have picked where he is correct, but where he is wrong. Leading a structureless political party was the biggest mistake. He should accept that mistake. That was a mistake. A party should have had structures. If it had structures, Sengezo Chabang would not have done what he did. But we understand him. He actually appointed the infiltrators to be part of his structure. That is why his political party collapsed. If You know, the leaders wants to always appear perfect, but sometimes if you own up and say, there I made a mistake, I am human after all, I think people will respect you more, rather than defending yourself and trying to protect yourself as the savior always. It doesn't actually, in fact, becomes right at the end of the day. Thank you very much for watching us. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button and be part of our members who are the heartbeat of the. You can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us stars.